Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Who Dares Wins podcast. My name is JP Ross and I'm your host JP. How y'all doing? How was your weekend? Um so one of the things that was really interesting is that we had like a situation where Caitlin Clark was getting roughed up, you know. Um And so it's a bit interesting because it's kind of like, what does that mean? What does that mean for the NBA? What does that mean for people who are, for people who are consuming this content? And it's yeah, it's interesting because Caitlin Clark has been, I think, one of the principal reasons why I have taken a more invested interest in the WNBA. I remember when it first started, when Lisa Leslie, was playing for the Sparks, and there was Cheryl Swoops and Coop. I think her name was Cynthia Cooper. I think, Coop won, like, I think, back to back titles with Houston. I think it was like the Houston Comets. And then, of course, there was Cheryl Swoops, and Cheryl Swoops was like lights out. Whoa. One of the best basketball players I've ever seen. Um, of course, like during that time period, too, there was like Becky Hammon. Becky Hammon was like her school's like all time leading scorer. This girl was lights out. I mean, people are talking about Caitlin Clark. They're talking about the young lady from the New York Liberty, but Becky Hammon could ball. And I think that's why the Aces are so good, because Becky Hammon's translation, or like transformation, or yeah, maybe translation. I don't know. Yeah. So it's like basically like from being at her college, and I can't think of the name right now, but at her college, just balling out, all time leading scorer at that school, and then getting drafted into the WNBA through the New York Liberty, and then I guess maybe being through different teams. I know I was losing it when she was part of the Liberty. I was like, oh my God, it's so awesome. Unfortunately, the Liberty weren't winning at that time. I think she might have got to play with Rebecca Lobo. Rebecca Lobo was an amazing player too. She was one of like the OGs, like the first like players in the WNBA, and back then was like Dawn Staley as well, and Tamika Catchings. You have these different players, and I might be getting their time periods at different times, but yeah, it was a really cool time because the WNBA was so new, and and I mean, it just gave us something to watch in between the basketball season and football season. Of course, there's baseball, but if you're like a baseball fan like me, like I love the Mets. I have the Mets logo tatted on my leg. I love the Mets, but there's so many games in baseball that it's just like, unless you're like a really, really good team, like, people aren't going to pay attention until like August. And then the playoffs is in like October or like September. And then like, pretty much like in October is, when, the playoffs kick off. So, so you start paying attention then, and you start making your picks or whatever. And like, if you're a Mets fan like me, you basically, are like, yeah, we're doing so good, but in the back of our minds, similar to Jets fans, in the back of our minds is like, yeah, it's just a matter of time. We're gonna lose, and even if we make it to the World Series, we're gonna lose that too. But we're gonna get really excited. We're gonna get really excited and look forward to it. But most likely, uh, Most likely we're gonna lose. So yeah, I just I really um I think about that. I just think about that a lot when it comes to baseball. And so yeah. Um so anyway, so the WNBA would like kind of carry us over into the beginning of football season, which would be in September. So by the time baseball season ended, it was um going into the second month of football. And so that's kind of like how WNBA was. Like it was like, oh cool. Like okay, so like women's basketball during that time period. And yeah, and like, and you would just you just do it, right? Um Now all these years later, like there's more players, man. There's like Kelsey Plum, who's it's so good. Such a good ball player. There's Brianna Stewart, two-time league MVP, champion. Now she's with the Liberty, trying to bring a championship to the New York Liberty. Um, I mean, the New York Liberty look incredible. I think it's going to be a rematch of the Aces and the New York Liberty. Um, I just watched the game yesterday of the Liberty versus the Fever, and that's the team that Caitlin Clark plays for, who in college was part of the Iowa um, Hawkeyes, I think. Anyway, so she's like the all-time leading scorer in women's college basketball. Let alone, let alone the NCAA as a whole, Division One college basketball. So she's like broke Pete Maravich's record. So that's pretty amazing. Yes, she's able to shoot threes, but she's a great passer. She has a great mind when it comes to basketball. But there was a lot of other great players too, like Paige Buckets from Connecticut, who will be coming into the draft next season. There was Angel Reese. Angel Reese, no joke, great basketball player. She's in the league now. She came into the league with the draft of Caitlin Clark, so that draft class. Um, I think Kate Martin, she came from Iowa. She played with Caitlin Clark. She's balling out. It's just been really great. I mean, honestly, I kind of like lost sight of the WNBA for a while, and with the emergence or the rise of Caitlin Clark and how she was just kind of becoming more and more a part of the algorithm of my feed on Instagram, as it was related to sports, I just started watching her more and more, and I just love, I love shooting threes. You know what I mean? Like I'm a white boy, so I tend to be open, so I needed to be good at shooting. So I like that. I really appreciated that, and but when I see her shooting and stuff like that, like I know that like she's not the only one to ever shoot a three. You know what I mean? Like there's Candace Parker as well. And I'm unfortunate that I was like sleeping on the WNBA when Candace Parker was a part of it. But she is a dog in a good way. Like she is such a good ball player. Gritty, um just an incredible player. And so it was just like really it's been really cool watching Caitlin Clark and then seeing her so loved, and watching like her games be so watched that now it's really taking hold, right? And so um yeah, so basically, she's getting these deals. The WNBA does not get paid like the NBA gets paid. Uh, you know, um, I think WNBA players are getting paid like something $200,000 compared to Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics just signed a $300 million basketball contract with the Boston Celtics. So I mean, it's incomparable, and for all practical purposes, the NBA is holding the WNBA. But with the rise of Kelsey Plum and this like transcendence of like Breonna Stewart. She's such a good ball player. Um, and then the excellent coaching of Becky Hammon with the Las Vegas Aces. Um, yeah, it's a really good time for female basketball. Um, but what I've noticed, and I think like it's all over social media, is that and like like sports commentators and voices out there, um, there definitely seems to be like a like we're not gonna let Caitlin Clark just do her thing in the WNBA. Like she's gonna earn her space. She's gonna earn her place in this league, and um, and that makes sense. I mean, that's competition, but I'm also aware of like one, this girl just came out of college. These other women are like grown women. And it's a bit of a difference. It's definitely a bit of a difference than male basketball, because like rookies from the man, like from like when it comes to men, I feel like they come in like Anthony Edwards is young, and other players are young, but they're able to like hold their ground against the NBA. And if anything, the younger have an advantage over the older, even though the older have wisdom and experience. Um, in the WNBA, it seems to me like the rookies, and I have to look over like Kelsey Plum again, because she was an incredible player, and she was rookie of the year when she was in the WNBA, and I think Aaliyah Boston, I think that's her name. She's with the Fever, so she's playing with Caitlin Clark, and so it's kind of like she was a great player, and now she has to share the shine with Caitlin Clark. And I hope that they're gonna work it out and like figure it out together, and pretty much like it seems like it's working out, because Boston is making sure that like she's she's okay, what I mean, like she's gonna be all right. And so but yeah, it's interesting. So I just been seeing the way that like some of these players have been like kind of rough on Caitlin Clark. They've been rough on Angel Reese too. Different kinds of hits. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, this play that happened over the weekend with this uh you know uh Carter, Kennedy Carter, um that reminded me of hockey. That reminded me of hockey. Like that was like she checked her. Like she checked Caitlin Clark, you know, during an inbounds, versus like in hockey, it's like understood. I just have to laugh because like um that is like uh oh man. Anyway, it's just funny because Caitlin Clark is tiny, tiny. And from time to time she still is able to put up points. And it's only been a few games. I mean, 11 games into the season, and then they're going to have a break for the Olympics. But I give her credit, right? I mean, she reminds me of like a skinny Reggie Miller or like Richard Hamilton. You know, Richard Hamilton came into the league, and he became a champion with the Detroit Pistons. But when he was with the Washington Wizards, you know, Michael Jordan used to tell him like, you should work out, you should bulk up, you know what I mean? And like, and Richard Hamilton was like, nah, I'm good. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, this is crazy. Like, like I'm not, I wasn't near as good as these other players. And I mean, if Michael Jordan gave me advice, I would be like, oh yes, of course. Like I would listen, because to me, he's the greatest basketball player of all time. He's why I picked up a basketball. I don't think I would have thought about basketball had it not been for Michael Jordan. I just saw the way he balled out, the way he was dunking, and He was just unbelievable. My cousin at the time was really into Magic Johnson, was a Laker fan, and and obviously I was in New York, so like I'm repping the Knicks, but Michael Jordan was this unbelievable, and I was short, so it's like I'm not gonna, I can't compare to Patrick Ewing, so I really didn't have like yeah, like I was excited about John Starks and stuff, like he was an underdog, came out of the CBA, but Michael Jordan, incredible, right? So anyway, I was just saying all of that to just kind of say like it's just really interesting because with the rise of Caitlin Clark, the rise of Angel Reese, this woman from the Liberty who did the 3 point contest against Steph Curry, Brianna Stewart, different things like that. There is money coming in, but it's not coming in through the WNBA. It's coming in through like agreements and things that are just like outside of the NBA or the WNBA. So it's just like interesting. So it's like okay, cool. Like hopefully through this whole thing with Caitlin Clark, like they're gonna be able to um uh yeah, just continue to grow that, you know what I mean? And like players being able to be sponsored and like get sneaker deals and different things like that. Um, I mean, I'm like my life is like worlds apart from them. And the way even with $200,000 a year, it's still like way more than me. But it's just funny. It's funny in comparison, but the truth is that the product of the WNBA is nowhere near as exciting as the NBA, but it's getting a lot better. It's getting a lot better, and I feel like as I'm watching it more and more, I'm learning how to appreciate it for what it is. I'm learning how to appreciate it. I'm even able to see, how uh, women are made, or like how women are designed, and what they're able to do and what they're able not to do, and what men can do. You know what I mean, and what men can't do. And so it's like in some ways, as I'm watching the games, I very much can see that like, wow, this person is a really great ball player, or like, you know, but I also can see like wow, like this is a grown woman, you know what I mean? Like there's more to her than basketball. There's like probably this family side to her and all the different things that go into being a woman. And so it's different. It's different than just watching the NBA. I appreciate it. I value it. Um, I love to see Caitlyn get stronger, get tougher. I love to see the Fever get better. I mean, the Fever are one of the worst teams in basketball. That's why. That's why they got Caitlin Clark. You know what I mean? That's how the way. That's the way the draft works. Is like your team is terrible, so you're gonna get a higher pick, and that higher pick is supposed to bring revenue to your team that's terrible. And as people are able to come and view your team, then hopefully revenues will go higher. They'll be able to make concessions, draft players, do whatever, free agency. But really, your team is garbage, and we're going to build up this team through the draft. Essentially, in my perspective, in my opinion. And so yeah, so it's really interesting, and I think like the Mets. I mean, like not the Mets. Stupid. The Mets have been terrible, but that's another story. Um. Anyway, yeah. So it's just like over the weekend, I saw this play where Kennedy Carter like hit Caitlin Clark, and yeah, apparently, Caitlyn did something with her elbow and stuff, so that's not good. But Caitlin Clark, give it to her. She's a very competitive person, and she balls. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I think like it's gonna work out. I think it's gonna work out, and it's gonna be fine. And ultimately, it's really great for women's basketball because now people care. People care about WNBA. Before they didn't. They didn't. You know, it's just true. It's just true. Like I'd watch it, and I'd get into it, and it'd be cool. Ultimately, I just like sports. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna watch it anyway, right? But there are players that have been in the game that were awesome over time and didn't get the shine that Caitlin Clark is getting or Angel Reese is getting. Um, but I think it's a good time. I think it's a good time for women's basketball, and it's going to continue to get better. It's going to continue to grow, get better, and we're going to be, yeah, we're going to be able to more and more make connections with these basketball players. And the same way you're making connections with male basketball players, you'll be able to make that with women basketball players. Obviously, with this Olympics, it's going to be exciting with all the stars playing together. Um, I definitely want to say this before I'm finished because I think Caitlin Clark is great, and it's definitely a transition. And Kelsey Plum, Kelsey Plum is no joke. Wow. What a play. What a man. She's got great game, man. Great game. There's some really, really good players out there, and it's cool. And yeah, I'm excited for the future of the WNBA. So that's my take. I'm JP. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching Who Dares Wins podcast. I'll see you around.